that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do.
Russian jets near Alaska airspace. It's the 9th time this year that Russia has entered Alaskan Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. It's the area where aircraft need to identify themselves. And it all comes after President Trump said NATO countries should shoot down Russian planes entering into their airspaces.
A press release from NORAD says 4 Russian aircraft, including 2 bombers, flew into the Alaskan ADIZ. That's not part of territorial U.S. airspace and not the airspace Trump was mentioning in his comments.
NORAD says it is not rare for Russian aircraft to fly into Alaska's ADIZ, but with it being the 9th time this year and coming the day after the president's comments, Senator Dan Sullivan told us that it was characteristical of Russia to push the boundaries of U.S. airspace.
So they're pressing and probing. And again, the way you meet them, the way you have to meet them is through strength and showing our military and our men and women do such a good job.
Again, President Trump says he supports taking action against Russian aircraft in a country's airspace. The ADIZ, the area where Russian aircraft were in, was outside of U.S. airspace.
For more on the ADIZ breach and what Sullivan had to say about U.S.-Russia relations, you can check out our website or mobile app.
Now, when Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine back in February 2022, thousands of Ukrainians fled the country. And at the time, the Biden administration created a temporary humanitarian parole program called Uniting for Ukraine.
That program allowed Americans to sponsor Ukrainians for 2 years to settle in the U.S. and work, with the possibility to renew status for additional time. But as the war continues, many of those temporary parole authorizations are now close to expiration, with long delays in requests for extension. Over 1,000 Ukrainians came to Alaska during the course of the conflict, according to Catholic Social Services. Those who remain face an uncertain future.
It hurts. I welcomed these individuals. I welcomed these families. I saw them come off the plane in 2022. They were scared.
Executive Director of New Chance Ukraine Relief Program, Zori Opanasevych, says this summer, 20 Ukrainians left Alaska because their requests for re-parole were not approved before their status to stay and work in the United States expired.
They had found housing, they had found great employment that they loved, they found friends, they found a community. For them to be forced out because of a long paperwork process, it's just not right.
U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services suspended the Uniting for Ukraine program after an executive order by President Trump in January called for a review of all humanitarian parole programs. In February, a process to apply for re-parole was created. Opanasevych says her organization has applied 6 months in advance for all of their applicants, but months passed and their permits expired.
There are a few individuals that did go back to Ukraine. They said that I am in fear of becoming an illegal in the United States, and I am in fear of a bomb falling on my home and I'm dying. Either way, I'm in fear, and something bad could happen to me. So I'll just die in my home country. And so they went back to Ukraine.
Efforts toward a peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia have so far not materialized after the summit in Alaska with Presidents Trump and Putin failed to produce a ceasefire. At the White House on Thursday, President Trump spoke about Russia and its president, Vladimir Putin.
I'm very disappointed in Putin.
Trump met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday and wrote on social media shortly after that Ukraine could be in a position to retake land occupied by Russia with the support of the European Union. With no clear end to the war in sight, Opanasevych is now asking Governor Mike Dunleavy and Alaska's congressional delegation to make a way for Ukrainians to stay in Alaska.
We're asking that USCIS allow Ukrainians who are here in Alaska to adjust their status for permanency for them to have a safe and prosperous life in our state.
She told me this week they did see some movement and approval for re-parole in a few of their cases, and they're hoping for more.
Well, happening now, an investigation underway after a deadly officer-involved shooting in Anchor Point. State troopers say they were trying to get a hold of 30-year-old Tyler Moyer at the Storiski campground.
Troopers say there was an active $50,000 felony arrest warrant for him. Here's some details now. Troopers say when they found him, they asked him to get out of his car, and that's when they say Moyer got out and took off. When troopers got close, they say he pulled out a knife, and that's when a trooper shot him and he died at the scene.
Troopers say a woman in Moyer's car tried to harm herself, had to be taken to the hospital. Moyer's body has been sent for autopsy. The Alaska Bureau of Investigation and the Alaska Office of Special Prosecutions is looking into the incident. The two hikers were able to fight off a brown bear in Seward after a surprise attack on a trail, troopers say. Trooper Stephen Smith said that a man and woman, both seasonal workers, were returning from a hike on Harding Icefield last night around 7 o'clock when they encountered the bear. The pair told troopers the animal attacked the woman, biting her in the shin, both hikers sustaining bites to the buttocks.
They were approximately a quarter mile from the parking lot when they told me that a bear had jumped out in front of them on the trail, and both individuals had to tell me that, or had told me that they had to fight off the bear, trying to make themselves big, yell at the bear. They didn't have any bear spray with them, and they both sustained minor injuries.
Now, Smith said that the hikers were able to drive to the hospital where they were treated and released. We're told investigators were in the park today. The trailhead is closed, but no signs of bears or DNA evidence left behind.
As the seasons begin changing here in Anchorage, tires will also follow suit. Next Wednesday, October 1st, is the official date where folks living in the municipality of Anchorage can legally drive with studded tires. Drivers risk a $50 fine per tire when driving with studded tires before this date. Steve Hill of Alaska Tire Service reiterates the importance of changing your tires for the winter.
Get the right tires. You know, like I said, there's some really good studless winter tires out there, and there's some great studded tires out there, and all weather as well. So, but good tires are important, especially, you know, when the icy conditions. It makes a big difference. I encourage people to get in as early as they can just to get ahead of the rush.
Hill says that changing tires can take up to an hour per car, so you should head to the shop sooner than later and be patient with your technicians. Residents that live north of 65° north latitude can already legally drive studded tires and don't need to worry about that fine. And we've got Chief Meteorologist Melissa Fry watching those temperatures and any chances for snow and ice.
Yeah, Melissa, it sounds like the winds, though, southeast, you've been mentioning, going to be pretty extreme, huh?
Yeah, a little bit of something for everyone going on here across the state. It is 3 separate storm systems impacting Alaska starting tonight, continuing through the day tomorrow. We've got that one in the Bering Sea, one currently in south central, but it's that area of low pressure down in the northern Pacific, which really hasn't even developed yet, that is going to bring those extreme conditions into southeast starting tomorrow morning. We do already have hurricane force wind warnings in effect for all the areas highlighted in red. That is a marine warning. So again, wind gusts there to hurricane force strength starting tomorrow morning, along with seas ramping up to around 35 feet. Now inland, we'll see those wind gusts between 60 and 70 miles per hour tomorrow, starting around 10 o'clock in the morning, continuing into the evening. So again, now is the time to prepare. If you're in this area highlighted in orange, especially between Sitka and Ketchikan, do be prepared for that storm coming in tomorrow morning. We do also have this area of low pressure still sitting in the Gulf that's bringing heavy rain to Prince William Sound. And as this moves a little bit further to the north, we'll see better chances for those showers pushing into the Anchorage Bowl, the valley, and even the western side of the Kenai Peninsula. Overnight into tomorrow, chances for those light rain showers. If you're out and about on Friday, maybe just grab a rain jacket. It won't be heavy rain in Anchorage. We'll see high temperatures, a little cooler though, upper 40s, light rain showers in Fairbanks. Juneau, again, be prepared for those wet and windy conditions. And then we'll also see those scattered showers in Bethel with high temperatures back into the low 40s. Now, the weekend, it is almost here, and I'll have that detailed forecast coming up next.
Happening now, the Turning Point USA chapter at the University of Anchorage is hosting a vigil to remember the life of conservative political activist Charlie Kirk.
Kirk was assassinated earlier this month while taking part in one of his college debate events in Utah. Kirk's assassin, Tyler Robinson, facing several charges, including aggravated murder.
Our Joe Allgood is at the Wendy Williamson Auditorium at the University of Alaska Anchorage now, where Kirk's remembrance is taking place. Joe, tell us, what are you seeing there now, and how did all of this come together?
Yeah, that's right. I'm outside of the Wendy Williamson Auditorium, where a lot of people have already gone inside. The event is starting. This is actually the new location for the event. Originally, it was going to be held in the smaller student union on campus, but due to the high demand, they moved it to the auditorium, which has capacity for around 900 people. Since Kirk's death, Turning Point chapters across the country have exploded in growth. Kirk was a co-founder of Turning Point USA, which is a nonprofit group that advocates for conservative policies in high school, college, and university campuses. Although Kirk is gone, the organization encourages supporters to get involved with future events and potential futures in politics. The vigil runs until 7:30 with free parking in the West Lot. When it comes to his accused killer, Tyler Robinson, he's being held without bond, and his next scheduled court appearance is next Monday. Joe Allgood, Alaska's news source.
All right, thank you, Joe. Hey, part of the celebration of the signing of the Declaration of Independence back in 1776, we're sharing a little bit of our state's history.
Tracy Sinclair steps in with what you need to know about what happened in Alaska this week.
This week in Alaska history, we have a gold rush, we have a tragic aviation accident here in the Anchorage area, and for the first time ever, a Japanese emperor put his foot on foreign soil, and it happened right here in Alaska. With me this week for this episode is Jennifer Summers. Now, she is our Reset producer, but she was also born and raised in Nome, so she has a lot of experience of actually living with the remnants of that gold rush. It was nice to hear some of those personal stories. I also sat down and talked with a librarian from the Lusac Library just to get some recommendations on some books about Alaska and this amazing history that we have. You're going to want to watch this episode. Check it out on our free streaming platforms. You can find those on Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Roku. Don't miss it. Just click that We the People tab.
Always look forward to those episodes. Coming up right after the break, we're going to take a look at that statewide forecast. Again, multiple storms lining up. I'll have that weekend planner. But first, take a look at your daylight forecast. Again, we're just beginning to slip below 12 hours of daylight. Sun setting at 7:48 in Anchorage, 7:38 in Fairbanks, just before 7 p.m. in Juneau, and still after 8 o'clock in Okeechobee.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's News Source app.